Hey everybody, after my little tirade, it stopped raining long enough for me to put my poncho away and poke around a little bit more. Now we're in the part of the military park where the Eisenhower farm is. It's on the western side, just outside of all the memorials and stuff. Now, to be totally honest, I know next to nothing about this area. Yeah, and I've been studying the Civil War for over 30 some years, and it just shows there's still so much I still don't know. Just in teaching and learning about history, and just speaking about teaching history, I've came across paths with another young person recently. I've been doing that a lot lately for some reason, and it came up, that I teach American and Russian history and all that, and they start out by saying like how horrible history was and how much they hated it in school. They couldn't understand it. It was terrible. It was horrible, and I just, I'm like, whoa, pump those brakes, young lady. Wasn't that direct, but that's basically my mentality. And I just try to explain, saying, look, history, a lot of it depends on your teacher. If you're being taught by a teacher who's passionate and enthusiastic about it, and explains how it applies to you, it could be great. Yeah, she kind of grumbled at that and told me that her thing is math and science. And I said, oh, that's terrible for me. I never did good in math and science. That was my bane. And quick as you could say scat, she retorts with, well, that all depends on your teacher, doesn't it? And I'm like, touche. Yeah, it didn't do well with that one. Good counter argument. Never underestimate the quick wits of a kid. But yeah, math's not my thing. My late father was a nuclear engineer, and I hate math. So anyway, enough about that tangent. Now, here at the Eisenhower farm, one thing I do know about it was in 1957, President Eisenhower, or late retired President Eisenhower, had a visitor. I knew that story of the name of British General Bernard Montgomery, who pretty much commanded the British Army during that part of the British Army during the Second World War. Quite outspoken man, quite pompous, quite arrogant in a lot of ways. He thought he was all that in a bag of chips, and he found himself at odds with General Patton quite a bit. They're both kind of glory hounds, you could say. And the difference is between those two is Monty, as they call him, he understood diplomacy and the need for it, where Patton was blunt as a spoon, which is why the former kind of excelled during and after the war, and the media kind of chewed up and spat out the latter and caused his downfall with Patton. But anyway, when Monty was here, he was quoted as saying, and they're critiquing the Battle of Gettysburg, and apparently Monty was saying that had he been in command, he would have relieved both General Lee and General Meade, who's a major kick in the teeth. But considering the source, is anyone really surprised that Monty would say something like that? Something with people who are so semi-opinionated, Was it right? No. Was it polite? No. Was it? You're basically scoffing at your host, some of the most revered people in American history. Love him or hate him, that's what General Lee is. Quite revered and still highly respected in a lot of areas. And to have somebody from another country do that, but also at the same time, it wasn't too much of a far-fetched notion, because up until then, not now, but up until then, the British still kind of viewed us as that petulant child, the ones who were the disobedient kid. They kind of patted us on the head. They were grateful for our help and support, but we weren't the reasons why the war was won. So they kind of tended to pat the United States on the head in a lot of ways. During the First World War, a lot of people were like freaking out, saying, why are we trusting the British? They're still the enemy. A lot of people really thought that. That's why the nation was so divided for a long time. So there's a little thoughts on that. So there you go.